take this opportunity on behalf of our Executive Director, Madam Christine Konge, and the entire team at Katiba Institute to welcome you and to thank you most sincerely for honoring our invitation. It is now 17 days before Kenyans of all walks of life, young and old, rich and poor, those living in rural and urban areas, converge to elect their leaders. It is the expectation that once done with the voting, we will all go home and gather in front of our television and radio sets to await the results of our voting. Our phones and such similar gadgets will be important tools as we peruse through different social media platforms to seek information on what is happening across the country. The role of the media is critical and fundamental to political life. Media provide us with facts that allow us to be better informed about the issues that matter to us, while also providing criticism and debate to ensure that information is tested and examined from all points of life. The media also has a key role not only in providing information prior to, during, and after the election, but also in creating awareness. While it is a role of the IEBC to provide civic education, the media also has a complementary role in elaborating terminologies such as the runoff and the rerun, which are still confusing to many Kenyans. Article 34 of the Constitution provides for the freedom and independence of electronic print and all other media. It further prevents the states from exercising control over or interference with persons engaged in broadcasting, production, or circulation of any publication or dissemination of information by any medium. Misinformation and disinformation are a concern in Kenya, particularly within the social media platforms. Hence the need to continuously verify information through our mainstream media. Information integrity, which speaks to the accuracy, consistency, reliability, dependability, and trustworthiness of information, are therefore paramount. The need to take advantage of the access to information tool as stipulated in Article 35 of the Constitution and the Access to Information Act of 2016 therefore becomes essential. This is notwithstanding the challenges associated with the implementation of Article 35, including delays in proactive and timely disclosure of information. Article 35 is paramount in enhancing transparency and accountability, and proactive disclosure of information increases confidence.
My name is Kahindi Charo from the National Police Service. I'm here to read the remarks of the spokesperson who is attending a media briefing, but if time allows, he'll be joining us. So, remarks by the National Police Service Director of Corporate Communication, Mr. Bruno Isohi Shioso, AIG, during the media summit on election in Nairobi on Friday, 22nd July 2022. Today's discussion is centered on assessing media coverage of the electoral process and access to information in the run-up to the 2022 general election. I will therefore tackle the topic from both ends of my double-hearted role as a police officer and as a police communication officer. Ladies and gentlemen, as well known, the National Police Service is a critical partner toward the delivery of a free, fair, and credible elections. This responsibility is mandated to us through the overall constitutional and attendant legal requirements, placing the onus of protection of life and property on the National Police Service. It is therefore an expectation that we as the police should provide a safe and secure environment conducive to holding a free, fair, and credible elections. Working around this onerous responsibility, we closely collaborate and cooperate with many state and non-state partners and stakeholders, and offering leadership on this is the IEBC. Based on the above stated responsibility, I would like to give an unequivocal assurance that the National Police Service and partners are well prepared to police the electoral environment and contribute effectively towards a free, fair, and credible elections. We, as an organization under the leadership of the Inspector General, have belabored for the past 4 years planning for such an outcome. And as it stands, we have ticked all the boxes and only polishing our act for the main act. From the media perspective, as the head of the National Police Service Communication Docket, I can say that we have pursued an open door strategy of partnerships, collaboration, and friendship with the corporate media industry. We have kept our doors open, remained on first name basis, and phone lines on speed dial, and generally accessible to respond to exigent questions and concerns that arise.
I want to start by saying we, as an institution, we are happy to participate in this summit. And under the theme of access to information, we are very clear that access to information as provided in various laws. It's what makes public institutions accountable and transparent, and sharing of information reduces tension, because once information is out there, then some tensions goes down. And especially this particular time where political processes are involved, we are committed as an institution, and we have always been committed, that all information that the public need to know, then when we are asked to provide, especially by the journalists and the people who require it, we should provide. However, it is also important to note that this information that is not supposed to be for the public consumption. And sometimes it is actually important also to leave that information that is not for public consumption right there, where it's supposed to be. The Office of Registrar of Political Parties collaborates with the media, and in the recent past, we signed a memorandum of understanding with the media sector working group, where we agreed to share information and continue engaging with the media. We have engaged with the media through training of journalists, especially even at the grassroots level. We conducted regional trainings across the country, where all the information that the journalists wanted to know was provided. One of the issues that we experienced, especially when the legal reform happened, was quite a number of misreporting and misinformation, what the law was about. And I want to thank the media, because the same people who misinformed also came along to correct the misinformation. So I want to say that media is an important tool, and therefore I want to say that we shall continue working together to ensure that all the information that is needed is provided in the right time and for the right purpose. We note that websites are very important. and every time we keep posting information in website. And for purposes of journalists and people who really want to know what is happening around, our institution is very careful to keep posting what we are doing in our website, in our social pages, so that information, even if you have not asked for it, you are able to access it. And for that reason, we still continue to collaborate to ensure that information is out there. As an office, we are engaging on political education. This week, we launched the Political Education Sourcebook, which has to do to train people all about political parties, political processes, participation, and why Kenyans should celebrate political parties, and why Kenyans should actually embrace multi-party democracy and embrace political parties as a process. Among the issues that the sourcebook is bringing into form is why a political party, and why should I engage and participate in a political party? What are the rules and game? How do you register a political party? How is it regulated? What are the rules? How do you become a member? And all that. But as we come to the end of the electoral cycle, 17 days to election, the sourcebook is also variable in ensuring that we are preparing about post-election. Key to this is the question, especially for the Office of Registrar of Political Party, is the issue of political parties fund, which comes immediately after and which can be a source of conflict, especially for parties as we try to do that. And that's why we want to start engaging the political parties and political actors early enough, because immediately after that, it will be an area that we need to focus on. We also look at the question of winning and losing. We know for sure that we have over 16,000 candidates that have come out to vie for post. I can tell you, and you can take it to the bank, that more than 14,000 Kenyans are going to lose elections. What we do with the 14,000 is a discussion that we need to have as a country and as a people, because losers feel, for all intended purposes, somebody spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, emotional investment in an electoral process. When they lose, then it becomes very devastating. You start by denial, you start by thinking that the election was stolen, you start by thinking who is to blame for your loss. So I think we need to have a framework of psychosocial support to the losers and to the winners. Winning an election also can also confuse a person. I finished that we have different opinion, but one nation. Our clarion call has been, as an office and with political parties, that we have different opinion, but finally we are one nation. And an election is a contest. And a contest, when it ends, then there should be celebration for all of us, because we were there, all of us. So as I finish, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that as an institution, we continue to engage political class, especially in regards to tolerance of each other in terms of ideas, to ensure that even if I say something, at least the right to say it must be protected. And then I allow another person to say. So political tolerance is the highest level of political maturity. And we continue to urge all the political parties and their supporters and political class to exercise tolerance, especially this last leg. We also urge ourselves as Kenyans to also exercise tolerance, because sometimes it has nothing to do with the politicians. Sometimes it's us who are influenced to think in a different way, and then we lack tolerance, because all of us, we are Kenyan, and finally at the end of the day, when elections is done, in spite of our divergence opinion and different opinion, we shall remain one nation. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a quote that is attributed to Jonathan Foster that goes like this: if someone says it's raining and another person says it's dry, it's not your job to quote them both. It's your job to look out the window and find out which is true. So I leave you with that challenge. Look out to what is true.
Happy to report to you that we have been working with the National Police Service. We have been working with the NCIC, digital political parties, and the very many other stakeholders to prepare the election. Because even if we say it is we are an independent commission, yes we are, but the election is the business of every Kenyan. We must all participate and not point fingers at any one of us and work together. In terms of recruitment of poll officials, as we are talking now, our staff are being trained in terms of preparation, learning of Teams kit and all that. And that training will continue up to the polling station. And the last level of training will be between the 4th and the 6th of August, where we will be training our temporary staff. Let me mention here that the Commission has permanent staff who are the county election managers and their deputies. We have permanent staff at all the constituencies. We have ICT staff, accountants, logistic team that are working. We are only going to recruit the poll officials who are recruited from their local areas to be the presiding officer during the election. And they have to be trained as well. In conclusion, as our key partners, the media bears the responsibility of sensitizing and educating the public on the virtues, opportunities, and challenges of the Electoral Commission. This is paramount for IEBC to take advantage of this space to reach out to all the stakeholders in the public. We are looking forward, and we have already signed a memorandum of understanding, and early this week we did have a meeting with the media working group to sign, to discuss and sign on the guidelines that we are going to use. We are encouraging media to cover all the polling stations, the 46,000. They may not be able to have the staff enough, but we are looking forward to collaboration and see how best we can be able to do that. This is in the spirit of transparency. The Commission has nothing to hide. The Commission is operating overboard, and we would like the players, including the media, to do their own tallying centers and tally the results as well. The results that will be announced by the officials of IEBC. We do not want you to cook your results. Please announce the results that are going to be announced by the presiding officer at the polling station or returning officer at the county and constituency. We wish to encourage the candidates as well to do the same. And if that happens, we'll be all home and dry. I don't think I have much to say, but we have a few challenges. Let me mention one or two, particularly arising from judiciary. Recently, we have seen court rulings asking IEBC to include some candidates, including the presidential candidates, in the court, and we are glad that that matter was stayed by the Court of Appeal. It would have meant spending more than R1 billion to include one additional candidate in the system. We have had cases whereby we cannot be able to enforce the election code of conduct because of the ruling of the court, and that matter is coming, I think, in November, the judgment after we have done the elections. However, I want to appreciate that you are working with the Director of Public Prosecution on all the matters that have to do with election misconduct. We have trained judges and magistrates that will handle the election petitions. And last week, we had a big meeting with all more than 120 lawyers who will be handling the petitions after the elections, and we have taken them through the process. With those remarks, I hope there will be some few questions to answer, and I'm glad and I'm happy that you're working very well with the media, you are working very well with the police service. Kenyans, be ready to come out and vote. The commission is ready for you. Asanteni.
There cannot be a better morning to discuss information integrity than now. Two things happened, sadly, that with 17 days left to the elections, very soon we'll be forced to leave hotels, boatrooms, and all that to buy gumboots on the field. So even those of us who have been training like the Media Council, we know ideally this is the last week for us to do trainings. Other people must discuss logistics. It's a morning when those who want to sleep around midnight, like myself, and woke up early, will realize that by the time you need to sleep, by this morning, 2 public entities have issued press statements with fairly contradicting facts. And that is the reality of information and access to information. That the position holders have to ensure there is a free flow of information. Otherwise, the challenge comes that Kenyans fill in for themselves. And if we keep talking about access to information, we have an access to information handbook and an MOU. We have worked with the Ombudsman's office. We have an MOU with IEBC. We have a working relationship with NCIC, the police service, RPP, and all that. Unless Kenyans have access to information, you create gaps and it becomes a challenge. When a commission at IEBC, as the media, we are glad to hear that IEBC has a lot of confidence in what the media will do to transmit or try our very best to transmit the results. Well, unfortunately, we have less than 15,000 media workers. The media will deploy a maximum of perhaps 7,000 to 8,000 in the field. We have 46,000 polling stations. Lakini Mungu yupo. The media will try to transmit information the very best. Those are the realities. You expect, because then if the media goes into sudden recruitment to fill the gaps, the fear of being infiltrated and getting fake news peddlers into the space will come in, and then the integrity of the media will be questioned. So then it's up to the media sector. The editors have deliberated, saying they will deploy in strategic positions. They will try their best to deliver information, but make sure that then you don't rush to get numbers and find that you're peddling information that cannot be verified. It's a challenge, but it has to be faced. Secondly, I think the media will benefit a lot through collaboration from other duty bearers, the National Commission on Human Rights, the NCIC, and all those who will deploy observers to the ground, so that then information from credible sources can be put forward by the media. Otherwise, you create a vacuum and everybody will bring in information, and it takes very long to clarify, to issue a statement, clarify. And again, it looks very embarrassing when public entities issue contradicting statements against each other. I am not saying it's a bad matter, but you have to keep clarifying that. But it's extremely important. People do not know. So they wonder, both are government entities, both are supposed to give final information. Why do we have within several hours contradicting information? It's about the actions we do around the final days that inspire confidence among the people. We tried our best to do a bit of training at the Media Council. So far we have hit 3,000 journalists and media workers from 180 radio stations, 45 TVs, and around 35 newspapers and independent news sites, including licensed and accredited websites and online news sources. We believe that those are enough to deliver credible information to Kenyans because research shows that 34 million Kenyans rely on the media as their first point of information, and that's why we will deploy perhaps the largest training and media work and media deployment. Over the next 10 days or so, we are trying our best to deploy up to 5 or more media centers in Nairobi and across the country to allow journalists to work from a common place. We have also set up the I-Verify platform, working together with UNDP, which is a network of hundreds of fact checkers who go out and verify information before it is circulated. I have a need to, before I conclude, I need to note that we are facing a serious crisis of fake news. Malinformation, they say it's not news if it's fake. So it's malinformation, misinformation, and misinformation. And it is a crisis. And another problem has emerged now, manipulation of social media, votes and polls and all that. We have spent the whole of this week working with the National Cybersecurity Center. And last week, Twitter pulled down some bots. This week, you've seen how the polls are happening. And we realized that there are up to 50,000 bots and pseudo accounts running social media in this country, roving around to vote at every social media poll and moving around. It's a crisis that you try our best we can't. We spent the whole day, almost 10 hours, back and forth between my office, the Communication Authority, the ICT Authority, and the National Cybersecurity, finding out what is happening around. Because you try to put a poll, and in 30 minutes you have won 50,000 votes, and it's midnight. Well, Kenya won 50,000, and Twitter consumption is 3% of the country. Then you find that we have hired bots and pseudo accounts. Pseudo accounts is where you can use your account to do, and bots is where you can give instructions that an account will go voting every 7 seconds around. And we have hired bots from China and India, and they are operating in the Kenyan media space. Because the whole idea is to make sure that polls come out showing which side is credible. And they quickly run, they use AI, say when you see Ruto, Raila, or you see Azimio, and know that it's a poll, quickly vote. And do again every 7 seconds, change your name, do that again, and do that. And even Twitter doesn't know what to do. And the problem is so big that you've seen that the attempted takeover of $44 billion has collapsed, isn't it? Because Twitter could not disclose how many bots they have, and also because sometimes they use them for their own interests. So as we move forward, I urge that we do our best and we be conscious that especially information from the media can be verified, but information on social media, especially the social handles, being the social media handles by the mainstream media or credible agencies, and or rather these even bloggers with a lot of following, can be misleading. Because social media can be, you can command social media to do what you want. You can buy voters. Otherwise, why would a person with 3,000 followers get 120,000 retweets while you talk about it? It's really a challenge of moving forward. I say this because many Kenyans now move onto social media, and we found a way of quickly screenshotting matters on social media and throwing it on WhatsApp groups, and it goes round and round until you have a community really in a crisis. So as we discuss information integrity, we urge that the media platforms remain the go-to platform for final information. And that's why you'll notice that all social media polls, even those handled by mainstream media, the mainstream media has found within themselves that they cannot publish this or amplify that. You just run the poll and leave it there. Otherwise, when you convert it and now put it on mainstream, you are also perpetuating a challenge that really threatens to grossly mislead the country. So thanks to Katiba for the partnership, and we hope that as we wind up the boardroom discussions and move into the field, all of us will have an undertaking, beginning with the duty bearers. The duty bearers in this case involve the media, who are respected and protected by the Constitution, to make sure that Kenyans have access to accurate and credible information. And now please join me in welcoming Madam Esther Poimet, Chief Guest.
Let me recognize all our speakers this morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Fourth Estate. Good morning. I'm pleased to be part of this forum that is providing a platform for various institutions and players to update their respective state of preparedness as we approach the August 9th, 2022 general elections. I'm happy to note that key stakeholders in the management of information for elections are represented here. This shows the commitment of each party to play its role in ensuring that the country has an election that everyone desires. That's an election that is free, fair, transparent, credible, and acceptable. Managing the elections requires a multi-stakeholder approach with the input of all key institutions in the public and the private sector. The media is central in this process as the direct liaison between relevant institutions and the public. The government has provided support to the media sector through supporting public agencies involved in elections. The Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs, through the Media Council, has extended support to the media sector in capacity building activities to strengthen the media's professionalism in playing its role in setting the agenda on the election, civic education, and oversight. A critical focus of the Constitution is transparency and accountability. In playing its role as an educator, agenda setter, and watchdog in election coverage, the media needs access to credible, timely, and reliable information. In the context of elections, access to information is important for enabling citizens to constructively participate in the electoral processes in all phases, pre, during, and post the elections, and to be able to hold public officers accountable in delivering their responsibilities. Credible and accountable information released in a timely manner is critical as the country heads to the 2022 general elections. In addition to these constitutional provisions, there are several acts of parliament, including the Access to Information Act, the Public Parties, including the Access to Information Act, Political Parties Act, Election Act, among other electoral laws that obligate those holding information on behalf of the public, such as the IEBC, the ORPP, the ODPP, the National Police Service, and the Judiciary, among others, to share information proactively or on request to Kenyans and the media on election matters. Public participation is a critical element of credible elections that needs to be realized through open and transparent sharing of information. The IEBC Electoral Code of Conduct requires every registered political party to respect the role of the media before, during, and after the elections, and guarantees access by members of the media to public activities while ensuring that they take all reasonable steps to ensure that journalists are not subjected to harassment, intimidation, hazard, threat, or physical assault by any of their representatives or persons who support any of the candidates or political parties. While public agencies have their obligations in provision of information, the media is also expected to live up to its duty in information in seeking the information as per the formal procedures laid down in the law. Various electoral laws are also clear on the duty of the media to the nation, its citizens, and the candidates. Constitutional provisions and Article 92A and B, for instance, obligate the media to provide equitable and reasonable allocation of airtime and guarantees candidates' rights to broadcast their campaigns. Media is also called upon to be cognizant of the various acts of Parliament, such as the Elections Act 2011 and the Media Council Act 2013, on the conduct of the media during this period. I wish to recognize the role of regulators in the process, as well as that of civil society, whose role in identifying gaps and pushing for corrective measures is critical in the implementation of effective preparation strategy for the upcoming national exercise. I commend the institutions like the Media Council of Kenya and the Katiba Institute, who have taken the lead in providing platforms for stakeholders to highlight and examine various issues around election preparedness, where players can reflect on their various roles. I wish you good deliberations after this, as we discuss the various topics that are scheduled for discussion in the panel discussions. With those remarks, I want to thank all of you. I want to wish you well. I want to wish all these institutions that have critical responsibility for delivering to us a very good election process, to wish them well, and to wish all of us as Kenyans peaceful elections. As has been said, we just have one country, and we need to all love this country enough to ensure that we do our part in the election process. Asanteni sana, Mungu awabariki sana.